This is one of the advancements in pioneering human evolution that we do to build permanent muscle. This is platelet-rich plasma injections. We do it in our underground laboratory, one of many which we have.
Well, not a lot of people know about it, for one. For second reason, I wouldn't say it's being hidden, but there's a group of people that probably don't want that out there. And it's not for muscle or anything like that. There's so many different uses of it. But as soon as you show how simple it is, now the fear of you not going to your doctor, going to a hospital for this, it's so much money they're gonna lose.
She's going to extract my blood. Coach Trevor's going to spin and treat it, and then inject back into me the platelets in order to grow the permanent muscle.
I just used a little bit or a
I can
needle.
increase my pressure by So we do platelet-rich plasma injections to build permanent muscle, new muscle. It's called hyperplasia. Instead of just creating hypertrophy in the muscle, where we're enlarging existing muscle cells, we're using hyperplasia and chemistry and technology to cause the muscle cells to split into actual new muscle cells. This gives us much greater potential as far as how much muscle we can build, and also makes the muscle less maintenance, so it's easier to maintain a larger amount of muscle with less amount of work. The first thing we do at our underground laboratory is draw the blood out. And here we've drawn 3 vials of blood. That's I believe 30 mLs worth of blood. Next, we're going to put it into the centrifuge. We're going to spin the blood to separate it. Then Coach Trevor's going to treat it and pull out the platelets for injection back into the specific muscle that I want to grow.
So now that we got Tony's blood, we have 3 vials, about 30 ml or 30 cc's of this. This will turn into about 3 to 5 cc's, depending on his blood, of the PRP. And how we actually get that is through this little thing. It's called a centrifuge, and it spins at a really, really high RPM and for a set number of time, and it will separate the white blood cells from the platelets. And we're trying to collect all the platelets and concentrate them so we get all the growth factors. So notice I do a triangle, because if it's off center and it's weight or gravity, when this spins at say 5,000 RPM, one of those gets loose and it'll fly out like a bullet. So what we're doing now is called the first spin, or a soft spin. This is where we're gonna spin it for about 10 minutes or so, but at a low RPM setting, and that's just enough to separate the white blood cells from the platelets from the red blood cells. The next one will be a hard spin, or the second spin, which will be a shorter time but more RPM, and what that'll do is actually separate. You have a buffy coat, your top layer, which is the white blood cells or platelets, the bottom, which is red. When you separate those two and do the second spin, you'll actually get at the very bottom of the tube, they're like pellets of platelets. So that's why you have to do the hard spin, because gravity will force it to the bottom. We're going to take these out and we're going to transfer them into the next tube without the coagulant or anticoagulant, and then we're going to respin them. So I'll show you. There's 2 layers to this. Well, 3. You have up here, there's plasma. This one right here, dead center in the middle, it's a little red because it moved. It's called a buffy coat right there. And then the rest are just red blood cells at the bottom. And what we're going to do is extract from Buffy coat up into the other tubes, and then we're going to spin that one, and then we're going to take the PRP from that. I should have had the pipette. That would have been nice. See that different color right there? Every last drop. So we can just keep spinning that. Okay. So after the second spin, this is now our final product right here. So just like I was saying, about 5 or so mLs, and then you can see that concentrate right there, right in between two. But before, this is all red blood cells, Buffy coat, and then all the platelet poor plasma is what we call it. So we take that out, and now we get our concentrated version. So we're gonna take this out and shoot it back into them. Put that little droplet, I don't care, I put a little bit of the red blood cell in there. Just kind of, not that there's no way around it, but you want to get all of that really dense condensed plasma in the form, it's like a pellet. Very thick though. So I'm using a very thick needle to do it. It's like chunks. It's like little boogers. And that's that stuff right there. And then that's the good stuff. And then we get some of the pour in there as well. Not a lot. It's just inevitable when you're doing this. Starting with that. So you see that chunk right there? I don't know if you can see it. Now we're injecting Tony Huge with the PRPs that we just spun that you guys saw. So what we're doing is we're going to do his medial delt he wants to do and the rear deltoid. We're going to do 2 ml in his side delt and then 1 in the rear, only because of the size of the muscle. If we do 2 in his rear, it might be a little too painful, might have a little too much swelling or inflammation. So we're starting like that, 2 and 1. Yeah, perfect. And then we're going to do it bilaterally, which means we'll go to the other
So it is
side.
going to hurt and my muscle's going to twitch, but don't worry about it. I have no problem sticking myself with thousands of needles to inject things into my body, but seeing the blood come out of my body even after all these years of blood work and experiments still makes me queasy. It's painful, but it's less painful than the arm or the bicep and tricep. It's my shoulder feels numb and twitchy now.
Like this, right?
Yeah, right.
I want to get it. Relax. So he's gonna be popping here. That's there. Just go straight this way. Don't really go too much at an angle. Do a little bit. Yeah. It's an awkward spot.
It feels like the hardest workout you've ever had on that muscle. Like the muscle's completely dead. Like there's nothing left to flex in the muscle. Like it's just decimated. Like you're almost afraid that you're going to be able to even activate or use the muscle afterwards. But I've done this before, and I know that full function comes back in just a little while.
One of the off-label uses of PRP is something we do in the muscle, which is not approved for in the US. Other countries do it and experiment with it, and it has actually great results. And the reason for this is PRPs initiate the inflammation response, but even better, the platelets are the ones that are causing this, and these things actually form into a receptor. They form into a receptor in your brain. It'll send the signal to your brain to start sending the gene transcriptions for proliferation, and this goes for IGF is one of the variants in it. There's so many from epidermal, which is why girls like to do it on their skin, do the face things, but for muscle, you're getting localized IGF and growth factors as well. So just because it wasn't approved for it here in the US, doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it.